All right, lads, welcome back to my podcast, Cheaper Than Therapy. Mick Thomas here. Cheers for tuning in. Cheers for coming back and sticking with me. Cheers for supporting. I'm liking the way these numbers are going. They are going up and up and up, which again was not a goal, right? My goal was just to literally have this podcast like Cheaper Than Therapy, and now my numbers are higher than they've ever been. Still not that much compared to other people, don't get me wrong, but considering what I was looking for, I am more than happy. So I really, really appreciate you. For those of you who keep listening, for those of you who subscribed, who like, who share it, cheers for that. That's kind of you. And I hope you're all doing well as we chug along through this COVID-19 pandemic. So what I said I would do, a lot of people actually wrote to me saying, hey, great job they loved the episode. They've loved the two interviews I've done so far with Dan Barry and Mike Calcagno. They said, oh, you got great chemistry. It's a lot of fun. But they really liked the interview I did with Captain Tom Murphy. I think a lot of them are surprised. A lot of those are surprised that said, they were like, you know what? You actually gave a good interview. You asked good questions whilst keeping it entertaining. Well, I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. That is the goal, really. I surprised myself. Maybe I have a future in this. Maybe a future in journalism. I don't give a fuck. I would never do that. But anyway, so I thought that tonight's episode, this week's episode, which is a Friday, because I did make that promise to why we're on lockdown, to be more productive, to get 3 episodes out a week, Monday, Wednesday, and of course Friday. And that's my goal, to keep turning them out, which kind of puts me under a lot of pressure to sit down and figure out what I want to talk about. Because I don't want to just sit down and not give you the time to think about what I'm going to do. But if I have a guest on, I don't really plan. I plan the guest, but I don't plan the conversation. I want it to kind of happen organically, and that way I think more questions will come. And if I miss them, I miss them. But yeah, so this week's episode, or this Friday's episode, the end of the week episode, I figured, you know what? I get a lot of questions, and I thought, you know what, because I always want to address them, but sometimes I write back to most people. I answer them off the air, if you will. I'm sounding like it's a TV show. But I do answer a lot of questions off the air, and I thought, you know what, this time maybe I'll do one episode just to because they're not in an order. There's no flow from them. So maybe I'll do, I'll answer some of the questions here. So let me go over, and I was able to transfer them over to me notes. Let's have a look. And in no particular order, lads, will I answer these questions. I'm just going to order them in where I cut and paste them. I have a few to get through. Some might be a quick one answer. Another might be a little bit elaborate. So bear with me. Let's see what we have. And if I didn't get to your question this week, I'm so sorry, but I will do another Q&A one in a few more weeks. All right? So bear with me. And if I didn't answer your question, then I'll definitely get back to you through Instagram, because like everybody knows, I'm a man of my word when it comes to answering questions. All right. First question in no particular order. Like I said, well, obviously first question is the order, you fucking idiot. He can't count now! No, I'm obviously fucking up already. But let's have a look. The first question came from Richard. What happened to the security guard? All right, let me tell you what happened for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. I went this week over to Captain, and this will kind of answer another question. No, I won't. I'll wait till I get to it. I'll do a callback like Quentin Tarantino. I went over to, because of the social distancing, right? I don't have a studio to record these in. I'm kind of forced to do very guerrilla style recordings with these. So I had to go over to Captain Tom Murphy's house. Now, Captain Tom Murphy lives in a gated community, right? That's where he lives, in a gated community. A posh wanker! Yeah, and so to get in, you have to go by a security guard. So because we're on lockdown, everything, you would assume that people aren't really visiting that much. So I guess I pull up and the security guard. So Tom said to me, he goes, when you go, I called the security guard. I told him you were coming. Give him your name. You drive in. Ooh, fancy. So I drove up, and all of a sudden the gate thing didn't open, and the security guard had his head down, had his head down on the desk, right? Now, I did post this on my Facebook and on my Instagram and my Twitter and that stuff. And then I realized I took it down because here's what happened. Because I don't want to be one of those people. Wasn't that Logan Paul, that prick, who went into a forest where people were in the suicide forest in Japan? And he took a photograph or a video of himself beside a dead body. So I put it up thinking that this video is going to be funny. And then I realized the guy's not moving. Right? I thought because there was vomit down by his feet, I thought maybe this kid is just, or I didn't know it was a kid at the time. I thought maybe this guy is just fucking had enough. Nobody's coming in. He said, fuck it, I'm going to get drunk, going to eat a shitload of McDonald's, and I'm just going to party because nobody's visiting anybody because of the lockdown. I'm going to party the night away in this booth. So as I honked, I realized he wasn't moving and I could look at his stomach and it wasn't going in or out. So he wasn't breathing. So I kind of took it down after the fact. So here's what happened, Richard, and for those of you who are asking. I kind of, all of a sudden, these cars started honking behind for me to move. Obviously, I couldn't move. But then what was happening is people were coming the other way who knew who it was. And they guys, because they lived there, and they went up. And I can't remember the guy's name. I think it was Richard. I could be wrong. What I said in the video, for those of you who remember. And she went up, she started banging on the glass. And Richard wasn't moving. So I was like, oh shit, let me just stop all this now. This isn't funny. And I said, you know what? So then Tom came down and I got in and I went and we recorded the podcast, Captain Tom Murphy. And then when I came back, there was ambulance and cops there. And apparently he had OD'd. And according to someone there, as they were waving people through. So I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if this is valid. But one of the women said he OD'd and he passed away. So that's what happened, Richard. As of what I know, he may not have passed away, but I'm saying, you know the way, you know, what's that game? Telephone or it's called Chinese Whisper or something. Don't mention the Chinese! All right, you know what I meant. It's a fucking joke. Relax. So so that's, as far as I know, that's what happened. He was out kind of cold, so he had OD'd on something. So I hope he is okay, and I hope he got the help. He deserved. So I hope that answered your question, Richard. And for everyone else who missed out on, or who asked me that question, but I was forced to take it. Not forced, I just felt it was the right thing to do. I didn't want to be tacky and to get entertainment off someone else's kind of real misfortune like that. I'm not about that, and I kind of despise people who do that, and I just didn't want to be a hypocrite. So that's why I didn't really post what was going on. But anyway, thanks for your question, Richard. I appreciate it. Question number 2, Kevin Downey Jr. From Christopher. Do you think we're doing a good job dealing with COVID-19? I don't know, Christopher. I hear things. You know, I hear what you hear, right? I hear that Como is doing a great job all of a sudden, but then all through the year I heard Como's a piece of shit. Right? You go to the city like, oh, the fucking homeless, this Como guy doesn't know what he's doing, and all of these things that were wrong with New York. And apparently he stepped up. I try stay away from the media. I do 3 days on, 3 days off because I'm sick of it, right? And in my state of mind, I don't like negativity. So I don't like so much negativity coming at me like waves upon waves of just, oh, we're dying. Oh, they're not going to find a cure. Oh, look, the economy is gone. Hundreds of people are losing their jobs. More people are dying. The numbers are going up. So, you know what I mean? I can't listen to that. So I kind of do 3 days, maybe 2 days off the media. So I don't really know what Cuomo's doing, if he's doing a great job or if he's not. I'm not going to sit there and be one of these ill-informed people who like to bash politicians when they don't know the full story. But do I think we as people are doing a great job? Yes and no. Yes and no, Christopher, because I had this conversation today with my friend Kenny, who is a very funny comedian who I'm hoping to get on this podcast if we can figure out the whole Skype thing, or Zoom, which seems to be fucking cleaning up. Zoom is everybody's savior this way, right? You can have a wank with Zoom now. I mean, you can have a wank anyway. You don't need Zoom to have a wank, but you could get your girl on the phone if you wanted to, or your man, or whatever you're into, or whatever kind of barnyard animal, if they have Zoom, and you could just have a wank from the courtesy of your own home. But I was talking to Kenny today, and I was saying, he was saying about how his landlady, she said to him, she goes, you know what, don't worry about the rent. Because Kenny stops, he's a good lad, right? He stops once in a while and he'll help her with her groceries and he'll knock on her door. Anything I can do for you, right? And he's in New York City, so she got a few tenants. And she's been, she kind of said to Kenny, don't you worry about your rent. We'll get through all this and then we'll talk. So that, I think I said to Kenny also, eventually, mate, you're going to have to maybe bang your landlady. It's on the cards. How many people out there are going to have to bang their landlords now? How many of them? I guarantee that's going to be the new porn, right? That's the new porn. It used to be stepbrother, stepsister. Now it's going to be, you haven't paid the rent in 2 months. Oh, COVID-19. Well, we can work something out. Zip lob. Right? That's going to be the new hit porn. You watch, you wait and see. But anyway, so I said to Kenny, he goes, that's great, because what it's doing is like, it's that woman, right? This whole thing has brought the best of her out. And I said to Kenny, sorry if I just said it, sorry, I'm repeating it. I think it brings the best of people or the worst of people out. For me, I like to think it's brought the best of me out, right? Because I do deal with crippling depression. I don't want to keep beating on that. But so I'm going to, try have a positive attitude and a positive, an understanding. So if people are in a bad mood, if people are kind of a bit, on edge, like I kind of take a moment to step back. And if I see somebody who's nervous or, I want to be understanding for people. So I like to think it's brought the best of me. It's made me more motivated now to not let this isolation kind of get me. I'm using this isolation as a gift. I know obviously that doesn't sound very sensitive to what's going on to the people who are suffering, but I've used it as a gift in relation to, I'm talking to someone now about, I've signed up for a third level education, I guess, if you will, as we say in Ireland, which is college, to go back to school on a topic I've no training in, but I've always been interested in the topic. And I'll talk about that more as that kind of unfolds. I've been proactive with these podcasts. I have been out exercising, totally different exercise plan. And, I have been spending, a lot more time. I've been checking in on my friends a lot. I've been randomly texting, randomly call people who I don't normally, just say, hey man, you good? And that's it. No joke behind it. No, I'm just like, are you good? So I like to think it's brought the best out of me, but there are people out there, man, and you see them and it's not, they've brought out the worst of them, meaning because like I used to try to be understanding if you saw somebody that was just like grumpy, right? You'd meet them in a supermarket or they grunt as they walk by you, or like, can you just fucking move down the supermarket aisle, right? Just fucking move. Or if you're at a red light and it turns green and you don't go the second it turns green, it's fucking honk, right? Those kind of angry people, or who cut you off in traffic and, who just downright rude. And normally I like to try, I'm not always successful with this, but I try to go, maybe that person's having a bad day. I don't know, maybe that guy's wife just left him. Maybe she just lost her job. Maybe this girl just found out she's pregnant and she doesn't, from this guy is not a good father. Like there could be any scenarios. Maybe this person's family member just passed away, right? Because I went through that. I sat on a plane and I was kind of short with somebody when my father passed away, not to dwell on that again. But I could have been somewhat rude, but if anybody who knew the reason why, they probably went like, all right, that makes sense. So I think I try to have a little bit more compassion. So for those people who are still mad, I think it brought the worst of them out, meaning like you don't have that excuse anymore, right? Like you have an opportunity now because everyone's suffering and you have an opportunity to step up and you're not taking that opportunity. So I just think you don't get a pass anymore. I think you need to go away. I do. I think you need to go to an island, just leave your organs behind and go away. Because I just think you're just a rotten person. I know that's a bit harsh, but I think, it's bringing out the best and it's bringing out the worst of people. And I hope for most people, it's bringing out the best of them. So sorry if that was a bit of a ramble, Christopher. I do apologize. Moving next question. Amy, what are you doing with your kids to keep them from driving you crazy? Fucking too late, Amy. I'm gone insane. Do you know what's gone insane? That is so bad that I had a meeting that was supposed to be in another state about upcoming projects, and it got cancelled because of, right? And I was like, I'm still going to go and pretend I have the meeting just to get the fuck out of the house away from these fucking kids. I'm joking, of course. No, I'm not joking. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to be honest. I really was contemplating that because I wanted just the idea of getting, just a breather. But, they got their school packets now, so they're working on that. And I have them outside, which is fucking weird because it's the opposite. It's supposed to be isolation. They're supposed to be inside. But what am I doing? No, I have a park across from my house. So they're out in that park every day on the playground. No other kids around. Wash their hands and all that stuff, taking good measurements but I'm trying to keep them out of the, I'm keeping them out of the house. That's the, or not necessarily out of the house, but I have them doing creative stuff, Legos, and I don't have, let me just move out of here. This thing is kind of kicking in with a weird noise. I do kind of have them, I have them kind of doing stuff that's a lot more reading. My son plays the cello very poorly. He's not going to listen to this, but he plays it very poorly, so I make him practice that. And my daughter's always out on her skateboard. So I am keeping him busy, and I am conscious of, like me, I want them to use this time as a blessing in disguise. So yeah, thanks for your question. Rich asks, what are your top 3 New York comedy clubs to perform at and why? That's a tough question, Rich, and I'll tell you why, because I don't always judge a club based on how fancy it is or how great the audience are. I really judge it on the comics that work there and the atmosphere that's created for the comedians, right? Almost like an isolation. A separation from the world and kind of like a protection, a bubble around comics, and where all the wait staff are fantastic, the owner is fantastic, the bookers are fantastic. So if you talk about like New York clubs in particular, I would say, because I love Uncle Vinny's down in New Jersey. That's, I would put that in some of my top 5 clubs at least to perform at. Again, because I just love the staff. I love the atmosphere. It's a bitch to get down there. And when I usually perform there, I perform there on a Wednesday straight through till Sunday. And I drive back and forth every night. In the summertime, I might stay because the traffic is horrendous, But I like to get back to the kids and everything. But I would say Uncle Vinny's down in New Jersey. But you didn't ask that, did you? You asked New York clubs. Definitely, I would say on Long Island, the top one would be Maguire's Comedy Club out in Bohemia, owned by Governors, which are 3 great clubs. But Maguire's was definitely is my top favorite New York club because it's 10 minutes from my house, I suppose. But again, the atmosphere that's created there by the owner, James, and the staff, T, the barmaid, you call her barmaid now? T is phenomenal. Her husband is one of the greatest cooks in the kitchen. Always do you up a nice. The staff, I could name all the staff there, and it's just the security guard, Lloyd, like every one of them. You just walk in and you're home, right? You're home. All the comics that work there are just like just friends. I walk into that club specifically, right? And I'm home. And it's a great atmosphere to relax in. It's a great atmosphere to try new material. You're fearless in that club because you have nothing but support and love, and it's all hugs when you walk in the door. A very close second is the Comic Strip in New York City. And again, we're talking about New York clubs. But the Comic Strip has, for me, the same atmosphere. And it took me about, I've been working there for years and years now, but I used to go there for about a year. And I would kind of just sit there and be quiet, do my set and leave. But now, as you get more comfortable, the owner, Richie, is just so nice. He brings you into the office and tells you these old stories from the old days. Because Rich used to be Eddie Murphy's manager. Jeannie, Tommy, the managers that are just everybody there, the staff again. Again, it's just that atmosphere. And the audiences are always great. You go in there on a Friday and a Saturday and they're sold out. Man, there's no better feeling than a Saturday night at the Comic Strip. That's from a sold out show, two back-to-back Friday, 2 back-to-back Saturday. and it's right there. You have the option to go where you like. If I want to, in between shows, I can go. In the summertime, I like to go to Insomnia Cookie across the street, get cookies, go to the Met, listen to my first set before I come back up. Or if it's cold, I go play a pool around the corner with one of the comics or whatever it is. It's just a great... The comic strip is like I said, a very, very close second to Maguire's for me. And then I guess the third favorite is I guess I would definitely say Gotham Comedy Club. It's another one. I'm not there as often, based on the geography of it, how kind of hard it is to get down there. But Gotham is a great club. You walk in, the audiences are fantastic. The staff are great again, and you know what I mean. It's a great club to work in. Just like, you know, Maguire's in the comic strip too. You kind of, when you walk in there, you feel a little bit relaxed. You know what I mean? It's comfort in there. So I hope that answers your question. But again, if I were to keep going, there's so many other clubs, you know, around the country that I just adore playing at. Again, for the same reasons, that the staff are great and they treat you just so nice when you walk in, and you know, they've got your back. If you have a heckler, you know, there's some clubs you'll go to and the club will side with the audience member, and I don't go after hecklers, because someone else asked me that question. How do I deal with hecklers? The answer is I don't deal with hecklers. I kind of just give them the quick clang. I'll ignore them, and if they keep going, I'll go, all right, mate, listen, if you don't mind, thank you, please, thanks so much. You just kind of, thank you. And I'll move on. And if you keep going, I'll go, listen, buddy, please, you're kind of, this is getting harder to do. You keep to interrupt me. If you don't mind, please. And then I'll say, look, one more time and you're done. And I will literally, I don't have a comeback. You know, sometimes people are not out, they're not malicious. They're not out to hurt the show. They're just out there and they don't know they're annoying. They'll just say, so, like, you know, they'll just hear them like, oh yeah, I do that too. That's so funny. It's funny because it's true. Or you remember that when we went to, you know what I mean? So they don't mean to be malicious. So those I maybe will kind of just go, all right, love, just, if you don't mind, just kind of, I'm trying to, yeah, thanks so much. And they don't realize it, right? But then you get some people who are just assholes who are literally out to try harm the show. For those ones, I just don't tolerate them. I don't go back and forth because that's what they want. I hope that answers your question. I can't remember who sent me that question, so I apologize. And Rich, I hope that answered your question about the New York one. Stephanie asked me one. She put an LOL behind it. What's your worst fear, like deep down in your darkest corners of your soul? I don't have any fears deep down the darkness of my soul, I don't think. I could sit here and go, oh, dying alone, but that's not one of them, right? I don't know. That's a good question. I really don't, you know, I don't have any of those fears. I guess, I don't know. It's a tough question. I'm sorry, I'm bailing on that one. I'm going to say spiders, which is not true. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Stephanie. I can't really... But the fact that you put an LOL behind that makes me kind of think you were kind of joking too. So I hope I didn't dismiss it like that. But I do kind of have to bypass it. I don't really have... Like, piss off. My cat's trying to drink my fucking water. Mike asked, what kind of equipment do you use to record? All right, asshole. This is Mike Calcagno, who was on the show. And basically he's making fun of the fact that I turned up, and he wasn't joking, when I did my podcast for him because of the social distance. And I do have nice equipment that I usually record my podcast on. But because of this situation that we're in, I can't bring all my good equipment. So I have 2 lapel mics. I think Dan may have outed me on this one. And basically I have 2 lapel mics that you just stick on. You see them on TV when, you know, they're on Letterman or something. They have these little microphones attached to their shirt collar. Because people move around a lot, right, you'll get like a lot of that scratching noise. So to avoid that, what I did was I attached them on like a little clip, like a tie clip, and I put them at the end of chopsticks. So it works good. So it looks like you got 2 people who are doing a podcast, but they're holding up a chopstick with a tiny microphone on the top of it. So yeah, Mike, you prick. That's what I do record on. So my secret is out there when I have to go remote to people. But normally I use it. I do have a device that goes a better microphone and headset that I use when I'm back in my hotel or back in my house. And I use that, and that goes directly to the phone. So I hope that answers your question, Mike, he said while giving the finger. Let's see how we're doing on time. All right. Got a few more to go. Brian asked me, why should and why shouldn't I move to Ireland? That's a good question, Brian. Why should you move to Ireland? It's a gorgeous country. And the people are phenomenal. Like, it's legit. everyone is lovely. Like, yeah, there's crime like every other country, but just to get that, it's amazing the breath of fresh air I had when I went back. Granted, I went back to bury my father, but when you go back, Brian, when you go to Ireland, just the difference in the people in relation to what matters to them, right? They work to live or live to work. Is that right? I don't know. Whichever one the good version that is. Um, and they're just great people. They're very lighthearted. The government believes in a lot of time off. They don't overwork your people. Everything is affordable, yet slightly expensive. You know what I mean? But like the price of housing is very cheap. Healthcare is free. You can go to college for free. If you have kids, they go to college, you walk right in. You have to buy their books and that's it. And even then they get a grant for that, right? Why shouldn't I move to Ireland? Because the weather, if you're coming from New York, which I know you, Brian, personally, you've been at some of my shows. If you go, because you like the hot summers, you don't get those in Ireland. Having said that, you can just jump on a ferry or a plane and be in the south of France or Greece, Turkey, Spain, Portugal, any of these places, any of these islands in an hour, right? You can be literally within an hour. You could be these hot beaches. So we have those there, which are not too far away. But also the universal healthcare. Now I said that as a pro and a con. The reason why it's a con is because because so many people use it, the waiting list, like for something so simple, like, oh, I want to get my tooth pulled, I have free healthcare. Yeah, you can, but you got to make an appointment for 4 months. So you could be waiting 4 months to get a wisdom tooth out. Do you know what I mean? The taxes are very high. The reason why the taxes are high is because they pay for your education. But if you don't have kids, you're like, well, why the fuck am I paying such high taxes? I don't have any kids going to college. You don't pay a housing tax. So they get you in other ways too, but the taxes are high. But everyone talks about how great universal healthcare is. Yes, it is, until you fucking need it. You know, I watched my dad go through it, and you know, he was supposed to get chemo. I think over here when you get chemo, you get it once a week. He could only get it once a month based on the waiting list, right? So there are pros and cons, but overall, if I wasn't a comedian, I would definitely move back to Ireland. And this is going to kind of piggyback on to what Tina says. Tina asked me a question: what's the one thing you miss most of Ireland? Family. Now it's family. It used to be the fun I would have with my friends and how laid back into things. I just said to Brian about how great it is and how nice the people are. But when I went back for my father, when my father was sick and for his funeral, I realized to me now the family is everything. Having said that, none of the cunts sent me a text message on my birthday last week. So whatever, we'll chalk that up to another still grieving. But you know, we'll chalk it up to that. But however. Yeah, so I do. My family is what I miss the most, Tina. Now, it would have been the chocolate. I would have said the chocolate had you asked me 6 months ago. But it is, it's family now. I have a newfound. I mean, they're not going to listen to this anyway. So if they heard me say that, they'd be going gay. But yeah, I do miss my family, especially the bond I have with my brothers. Me and my older sister, she's not older than me, but she's the oldest of the two sisters. We never got on our whole lives, but we kind of created this new bond, which I loved when I was over there. Again, she's not going to listen to this. And I kind of liked how that was going. But again, that's, you know, and of course my youngest sister was always like the baby sister of the house. So I always kind of have that overlooking protection over her. But you know, again, Brian, fucking move to Ireland, trust me, you'll be happier. Tina, I told you, it's family. Let me see, quick one from Lauren. How big are your hands? Oh right, I didn't think I was going to answer that one. All right, I'm assuming you are going to buy me gloves. If you are, I'm a size large. Thanks so much. And I can palm a basketball. That's all I'll say. So whatever you want to do with that information, that's the answer to your question. And last question I'll answer and I'll say goodnight is Andrew asks, love the new podcasts, love the new guests. Do you ever think about having one of your kids on your shows? Yeah, I was thinking about putting my son on. Because my son's very funny. He's a very funny kid and he's young and he's got that innocence. And I was thinking of asking about the coronavirus. But lately he's going through this thing where he'll watch a bit of YouTube and he'll hear these jokes like a dumb YouTube show. And then he'll come out and try pawn it off as one of his own. But he's just like, Just, and then we walk in and all of a sudden then the captain fell down. He went, what? So he said, oh my God, you better tie your shoelaces. Do you get it, Dad? I'm like, fuck, no. So I would like to put my son on. I think it would be a funny episode or interesting episode, but I just would worry that he kind of runs off. He just runs away with one of those dumb quotes of trying to be funny. So, but maybe I'll have my son on in the very, very near future. But I do have some interesting guests coming up, and if I ever scrape the bottom of the barrel, then maybe I'll bring my son onto it. So anyway, guys, that was fun for me. Thanks so much for your questions. We'll do another Q&A. If I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. We'll do another one down the line. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, pass it on. Any comments, concerns, questions, go to my Instagram, Mick Thomas Comedy. And next week I'll be at Nowhere. The following weekend I'll be Nowhere. And I had a gig in in Phoenix for May 2nd, which I'm assuming, I haven't got word back, but I'm assuming that's cancelled. So sorry, Phoenixites. But anyway, so guys, thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate you. Hope you're safe. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're being productive with your time. And I hope stay healthy. All right, lads. Thanks so much for listening. Good luck to you now. Thank you. See you again. It's the Mick Thomas. Mick Thomas cheaper than therapy show.